Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Southern Scrap Nation's podcast. Your host, as always, Daniel Jonas. Do it again for the fun. All right, today is July 6th, 2023, here in Charlotte, North Carolina. As always, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, so morning, afternoon, evening to whenever you're listening to this. Today we'll be going over UFC 290, International Fight Week, big deal. And then we'll be going over other aspects of MMA news, maybe talk about the fights this past weekend. I don't want to delve too much into that stuff just because MMA journalism's kind of this week. On top of that, we're like forced to have every weekend of fights for like the next couple months. So it's not necessarily a bad thing if you love fighting like I do, but it can become an oversaturation and the casuals will be like, who's this person? What's their deal? And as much as it is a time for new fighters to get a spotlight, a lot of people I think might feel fight what's the word for it? Just like there's too much of it, right? The word's escaping me right now. But anyway, so we'll be talking about all that and then breaking down the fights, obviously. That's probably the biggest thing I want to do just because it's a pretty stacked card. The argument is, which card is more stacked? This one or 291, I think, is the next stacked card. And I think just based off of name power, the other one, 291. I think that's supposed to be like a fighter's fight. Like, that's just supposed to be not necessarily chaos, but it's like, I'll pull up okay, so 291. It's for the BMF. It's like the last time they did the BMF belt. There's no rhyme or reason for any of these fights. They're just fights that you pair them up because the two fighters go forward, right? Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier. It's like we've already seen that, and it was violent. Let's do it again. Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira. Polish power versus Brazilian power. Let's find out who's got the bigger power. Paulo Costa versus Ikram Aliskerov. A guy that has no business taking the fight. Fuck it, let's go for it. And then you have Tony Ferguson versus Bobby Green. I mean, they're not too far apart in their UFC tenure. I think Bobby Green's a little bit younger on the tenure, but the fight numbers itself, like Bobby has more fights than Tony Ferguson. That's bananas. And then Michael Chiesa versus Kevin Holland. Great fight. Prelim, even the prelims, you got Derek Lewis on the prelims. Oh, this card. Just for this fact, you have Derek Lewis on the prelims. Whoa. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, like, you get to Bo Nickel. People know who Bo Nickel is, but I bet as soon as you hit the prelims. Yeah, like Jack Della Maddalena versus Sean Brady, the way it was sold is big, but it's not Derek Lewis big. Yeah, that next card is definitely, I think, more stacked. Yeah. And then early prelims has like no names. Even on that one, it's got like Joanne Wood. How convenient, right? You go from Joanne Calderwood to just Joanne Wood. Names are weird. She's Scottish and she married a guy from Las Vegas. Like, they're like even parts of the world. I mean, obviously, there's probably some like ancestry, like maybe he's got some Scottish ancestors or whatever. So maybe that name came from somewhere over there. But the point being is, like, two separate parts of the world. almost identical last names. And they get married, and then it makes it easy for her to change her last name. Crazy. All right, let's get into some news real quick before we talk about fight. I don't want to go over news because I've already seen some of the news this week, and I am not a fan of it. Like, will this happen? I mean, the tough stuff is Connor's 0-6, for those that don't know. He's 0-6 in coaching. But man doesn't coach, so, I mean, doesn't coach during the fight, which isn't a big deal because he owns the UFC, so he technically is coaching. He's just not taking up a cornerman spot. He doesn't have to pay a cornerman's license. The rich get richer. You see that? Like, Connor, all the money in the world, right? Even he is trying to skirt past the Nevada State Athletic Commission so he doesn't have to pay them. Oh, cornerman license? No, how about I just stand cage side because tell me differently. I own the promotion. I like this mentality. I was just watching this interview with Michael Bisping he was doing. He was talking about how Rodriquez du Plessis is the most dangerous fighter. And he's not wrong. I think Rodriquez is a very dangerous fighter because, one, the way he fights, he's very forward and like throws shots with his chin, like does not care. But also, I think it's because people doubt his technical ability that puts some bigger fire underneath him. And now that he's like got the nose surgery and it's made him feel better about his conditioning and probably given him a little bit more of a confidence in his ability to like push the pace. Once again, it's only 3 rounds. It's not a 5-round fight, so he's not has anything to worry about at the moment. But he can push the pace like he usually does. I'll break down the fight later, but point being is like I think all that doubt. I mean, he's a meme at this point. Like guy with no technique on incredible win streak, and then versus guy with technique on incredible losing streak, and it's Peter Yan and him are comparative. But I think there is a technique to what he fight, to the way he fights. I just think the untrained eye doesn't see. Well, I do think he is very aggressive. So yeah, he does throw himself forward. But I think the untrained eye doesn't see like he is. MMA fighting isn't pretty. Like it's not supposed to be. Like the individual arts are very beautiful. Like kickboxing, when you watch Izzy do something, it's very beautiful because he's embodying his kickboxing nature. But the art of MMA is like Khabib's fighting style. It's beautiful on its own like mountain, but it's not beautiful to watch. Like he's on top of someone raining punches down, and he like drags people to the ground, and it's just like, oh, you know. If you're a suburban housewife watching that, you're going, oh my god. Right? Whereas, like, if you watch Israel Adesanya kickbox, you're kind of like, oh, that's kind of nice. Good way to, like, my mom never watched boxing, doesn't watch this stuff. She's very not part of this world. Like, doesn't get it at all. But when she was like when she was younger with boxing, she was like Muhammad Ali was someone to watch because of the way he moved. And it was beautiful the way he moved. But then she's like, but then Mike Tyson came along and he just like was a brute and just knocked everyone out. And I was like, it's crazy that those two fighters are both like the epitome of technique in boxing, right? Like a long, lanky footwork based person and then a short footwork based power puncher. But the way she looks at it is like one of them hits and doesn't get hit. I mean, and Tyson didn't really get hit either, but it's just the way he went about it. And that's what I'm saying with MMA. And Rodriquez is like, yeah, Rodriquez looks bad, but that's what MMA is. Like it's a dogfight. Like you are fighting somebody. You're taking it from different levels. So he'll throw hands upstairs and then he'll shoot. And that's why it seems like he's just like muscling it, and maybe there's a little bit of muscling it for a 185er. Maybe he doesn't have the technique perfect like a smaller fighter, but there is something to be said where he attacks on different levels and constantly isn't just like Like, there's a method to his madness. Aljamain Sterling says Sean O'Malley title defense literally taken against my will. Okay, well, you beat Henry Cejudo, right? Burned out's the word. People are gonna get burned out from the fights this weekend, or from the multitude of fights that we've been getting. Burned out's the word. We're back. We're back, baby. Yeah. Where was I? Where was that? Market. 10 minutes. 10 minutes in. Figured it back out. 10 minutes in. Let's go. All right. People could say, okay, so quote, I had just kind of ripped from underneath my legs. Now I'm like, okay, this time you are not going to do this to me again. I'm going to fight even though it's literally against my will. People can say whatever. If Dana White were to hear this, Hunter Campbell were to hear this, they would say, we're not making him do anything. Let's be real here, bro. Come on, dude. You kind of are. Let's call a spade a spade. Unquote. Or, yeah, unquote. No, I mean, in business, technically, he doesn't have to do it. And yeah, it's like, you don't do it, then you get stripped of your belt. I don't think they're going to strip him of his belt, but, like, you have to be active. I mean, I understand he just fought Henry Cejudo. They're looking for him to fight August 19th. You know what? I'm kind of on Aljo's side about this just a little bit. The reason being is, where's Jamal Hill's title fight? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not... Like, he just fought, so I'll give Aljo a little bit of a pass. But if Aljo's complaining and he's, like, been out as long as Jamal Hill, for example, then it's like, okay, well, what about Jamal Hill? What about Leon Edwards? What about... John's in his own world right now. He's... They're trying. They're trying. Alexa Grasso's set. Even Islam. What about Islam? Like, these people have fought before Aljo, so it's kind of crazy. I will give it to Aljo. It's kind of crazy they're trying to turn him around in August. But, man, UFC wants Sean O'Malley to win that belt, baby. The Sugar Sean belt is what they want. Maybe if you did a little bit more talking, they would have been more on your side. And it's not, like, that's the big thing, is, like, it's not to take away from people that want to be, I don't know. I watched the documentary that's some MMA channel on YouTube did, and it was like telling Aljamain's story from another way, where we get to see it from all this one side, but then they go into his other side, and it's like he comes from an abusive household, and da-da-da-da-da, and he never got a fair shake. He didn't get a fair shake in the UFC, and then it's like all this stuff, and then people didn't appreciate his win, and then it's like, oh, but then I saw the belt, or they gave me the belt, and then they did a video, and it's all like circumstances, what it makes it look like I'm the bad, and it's like, those points are valid. Like, you can obviously story, there's like different sides to every story. And his is being told from the side where he's like, it's not in the best light. And maybe there is a better light that you can tell that story. And that's fair. But at the end of the day, is that story entertaining at all? Does it make me want to root for him any more on this side of the story than the other side? And to be honest, it doesn't. It just doesn't. There's nothing about it that... And then on top of that, like, his personality, like, it doesn't... If he comes from an abusive household, why doesn't he, I mean, make a point to, like, help other people from those situations? Like, you know what I mean? If that's part of his story, or maybe it's just something that he learned how to work past, and it's not really affected his life as much as the story says. But if it did, you know, there should be something that would make me want to root for him because he's trying to get back and make that community better or something. I don't know. But my point is just, I don't think just because of the way the UFC and the MMA media portray his story makes him any more entertaining and makes the UFC any more want to invest in him over Sean O'Malley. It's like, dude, Sean O'Malley probably could have like the most boring story in the world, but the fact that he's just like, I smoke weed and I knock people out and I got cool hair. It's like, yeah, Gen Z loves that. They love that shit. And you know what? Their parents are going to pay for their kids to go watch his stuff, pay for his merchandise. And that's all it is like, if I can get in the pockets of the parents, we win. We're winners. And so I think a lot of these fighters get real hurt because these company people, they like, we care about the fighters. But it's like, we're also a business. So we care about the fighters, but we also care about the business. And we got to do what's right for the business. And I don't know. I just can't get jaded at things. You can't be jaded in anything you do. And that's a lesson I learned from my mom, like long after I probably should have learned it. But you just can't get, but as I'm coaching and getting more and more into this, and the more and more time I've spent in the sport, is just like, you just got to get focused and things happen. People are a certain way sometimes, and it doesn't take away from what the beauty and the love I felt for this from the very beginning. It doesn't change. And that's what you got to like hold on to. Because things like this are going to happen. 6-0, right? 0-6. Conor versus Michael Chandler. All right. Conor's trying to have a comeback, right? He just got his leg broken in half. He's trying to have a comeback. And man, to relate this to this, Conor could easily say, thanks for the cheese, see you later, again. He's trying to have a comeback. He just broke his leg. He went on The Ultimate Fighter. Actually, you know what? I'm about to prove myself wrong, I think. Hold on. So he goes on The Ultimate Fighter. He's like getting back in shape for the Michael Chandler fight. That's what's going to happen. He's trying to coach this team of young guys to beat UFC veterans and just show the Mac is back. 0-6. Clearly finishes out the season. And now it's his redemption story to come back and beat Michael Chandler for the boys. And I think I proved myself wrong because he's not even the USADA testing pool yet. So I don't know. Maybe he just gave up on the comeback. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he got jaded. Maybe he's just like, nah, fuck this. I'm done. I'm done with this sport. What? Big power hands don't work? I thought that's what this whole sport was. I thought it was going to work on the team. We'll talk about Bo Nickel getting a new opponent. Oh, wait, hold on. This is what I'm looking at. Mel Gibson. Say what you want. His movies. Fantastic. Love Mel Gibson movies. I'm a huge Mel Gibson movie fan. All right. There's one, the Gringo. It's good. It's a good film. I just like it. Some people, when they watch movies, it's like every time I watch a movie, I have to make it a little bit comedic. Like, I know there are serious movies out there, but if they're serious movies, they make it a point that they're a serious movie. But every other movie I watch, I find a little bit of humor in all of it, and it makes it a little bit easier to watch. Mel Gibson movies, if you go in there thinking that it's an action cop movie and like I should be dead serious during it, no, it's not going to work out. See, this is what I'm saying. The poster is all just it's like bad. I probably won't even be able to watch this. I'll look at this. Oh, I can. Twitter's in a state of disarray. But if I'm logged in, oh no, I guess they fixed it. See, it's like a very like gimmick poster. Like it's supposed to be mug shots. Look at this. 15 TKOs, 19 TKOs, 20 finishes, 22 finishes, 18, 6 finishes. But like this is like a false number. He's knocked out way more people. So it's like a poor way of like Alex Pereira, get excited. He's only finished 6 people in 9 fights. That's like, no, he's... What is IMW? Interim middleweight champion? How's he an interim middleweight champion? No. Oh, number 1 middleweight. Oh. That's terribly written. Kamaru Usman coming back. Hopefully to fight Chimaev. That's all I want. How about that? No, or I want this guy to come to the UFC. Nice. Jalen Turner. Living the life. Regardless if he wins or loses this weekend. That man was living in Dubai. He's pulling up in a... whatever car this is. Ferrari. Living the life. Superior rule set acknowledged. Pride rules are the best rules. So no elbows? How about Pride rules plus UFC rules? How about we just have them all? How about we do all the rules into one? So no rules essentially, but all rules. Because I get the sentiment like Pride rules are the best. Because everyone just remembers the kneeing in the head. But no one remembers that you can't elbow. And I'm pretty sure there's something else, like ground and pound or something. There's something about the ground and pound you can't do. Something you can't do with Pride that like the UFC. Would Robbie bite his... Oh, that's a dumb question. Of course he's re-signed with you with one championship. I don't think there's any company that's offering him a check. What is this? Okay. You guys don't get to see this. Oh, okay. Cool. All right, MMA Junkie, what we got? He has fear about future retirement. I do want to see this because I want to see if he's got, like, what business this is. I mean, he was a champion. Yeah, I mean, this is a problem with fighters when they don't have something to occupy their time outside of fighting. It's like you got to figure out what you are, man. You're not just a fighter. Like it's not like you can't just identify as one thing. That's what makes human beings amazing, is because they're multifaceted. You can get good at things on polar opposites of the spectrum. You can get good at fighting and then get good at knitting. Like people are amazing, right? So knowing that, like, you have to find other things. You got to get other hobbies. You got to get good at something. Feel that suck for a while of like, I can't do this. this is horrible, that frustration, and then like breaking through and all those things that you feel when you master a new skill. If he spent all his years in the gym, it's like, yeah, that's what I mean. That's what you want, that same feeling with other things, and you can. That's what skills are. So as a fighter, it's like, man, get good at skills. If you're a pro fighter, you've mastered a skill. So like, have confidence that you can go master anything you want. It's up to you. There's a lot of people that can't even master this, and everyone can literally do this. Yeah. I think that should get its own Hall of Fame. Problem is, this fight, they were both on PED, or one of them was on PED, so who knows? Shout out to Sean Strickland this past weekend for putting down a Boos. I miss a Boos. Also, Kevin Lee. Okay, what did head coach of just spoke about? For me, the warning signs for me, we're talking about on beyond these little shows at the Apex. His attitude should be focused on winning and your opponent. Other comments were Khabib, I saw holes in his game. You should be focused on your fight. And in my opinion, he got caught was because he wasn't focused on his opponent. Yeah, I mean that's what it is, man. People really don't like Dylan, and I get it. The guy is cringe, but what you guys have to remember, and I've always said this about Dylan Dennis, he's the greatest tragedy story. Not the greatest I'm sure there's other tragedy stories, especially now with the guy with the thing and the rolling and the Henry Gracie and the lawsuit and stuff like that. That's a pretty tragic story. But he's one of those, like, he's a tragic story in the sense where he had so much potential. He was a Marcelo Garcia black belt, and it wasn't like he was bad. He had potential to be even better than he was. Like, if he, it was one of those things where it's like, it's crazy when you're that level and your ego, you shed your ego out the door, but then you build a bigger ego, and that one doesn't get out of your way. And that one just kind of got in his way. He became Conor McGregor's training partner. And before he was Conor McGregor's training partner, and Conor was looking for a training partner, and he got a Dylan, like, that's a good training partner. But now, after everything, he injured himself. It's just, he's not with Marcelo anymore. His own ego got in his way, and it's tragic because of the potential he had. I guess he still could have. I don't know. I don't know what his situation is now, but clearly he's training with Alex Pereira, and it's like, but he gets involved in like cryptocurrency scams and all this stuff. It's just sad to watch because, you know, let it go, let it go. Right? This chick just needs to chill, bro. Just go become champion. Who gives a fuck? All right. Let's go break down these fights. So, this weekend, UFC 290 at the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas for International Fight Week, July 9th. Did I get it? Today's the 6th. Tomorrow's the 7th. The 8th. Sorry. July. Oh, it's right here. July 8th. Also, for my anime lovers, JJK Season 2 comes out today. So get excited. Listen to this. JJK. I'm gonna go on a little MMA thing right here, or anime thing right here. JJK. They're doing season 2. Ooh, baby deers, Bambies. They're doing season 2, the arc with the arc before, and then I think in 3 months it's like a season 2 part 2. It's like the next part of the arc. Amazing, awesome. And then in like 2 days after that, Bleach, 1,000 Year Blood War comes out, part 2. If you like anime, dude, it's prime time. Chef's kiss about it. All right, so prelims, UFC 298. Just kidding, UFC 290. Keeping myself on my toes. We had Cameron's. I think this is the South African cat. I think this is a South African guy. Yeah, this is the South African guy. He's pretty good from what I've seen. Marcin Parashnio. Seen him fight. I've not seen any of these guys. Tatsu, no. I will be watching them, so 13-0 is pretty good. Hatsuro. Okay, he won in his last fight. His submission decision. Oh, who is this guy? It's 23. Huh. That guy's good. That guy's probably gonna win. Let's go to the prelims. Jimmy Crute versus Alonzo Menafield. Alonzo's last performance was against Misha, and he's been, Alonzo's been improving drastically in his last couple fights. Oh, it went to a draw, so they're doing it again. Why was it a draw? Did I see that fight? Why is it a draw? Okay, well, I think Alonzo's going to win the rematch. Actually. Yeah, I think Alonzo's going to win in the rematch. From the significant strikes, it seemed like he was outstriking Jimmy Crute. You know what? Let's see real quick, because... Menafield versus Jimmy Crute. Let's go. Okay. So let's see. Yeah. Do we need to see any more? He grabs the fence so he gets a point reduction. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Like boom. Yeah, I think okay. I don't have to see as much anymore. I got it. Yasmin Yaguera. Yeah. Versus Denise Gomes. Yo, my girl Yasmin is gonna get this. She's so good. Her boxing's awesome, and she's fun to watch. She won her last. Oh, she knocked out her last opponent. Sweet. Yeah, she's good. 10-0. Yeah, she's good. Jack Della Maddalena versus Josiah Harrell. I'm gonna have to go with Jack just because tried tested. This is a last minute replacement. However, I don't think. I mean, it's one of those. We'll talk about the Bo Nickel thing in a little bit, but Is this the guy that... Oh, this is the guy that got ran through the door. No, the guy that ran the guy through the door. He ran, he's famous for this thing. So, he ran him through the door. I don't think that's enough to beat, Jack Della Maddalena. JDM. I don't think it's enough to beat him, to be honest. I think they're going off of viral moment. Let's get the viral guy in here. Then Robbie Lawler versus Nico Price. That's an awesome fight. It's Robbie Lawler's retirement fight. So, shout out to Robbie Lawler for all the years that he's been fighting for a long time. On top of that, we remember the greats. Robbie Lawler, Rory McDonald too. Still to this day, Robbie Lawler's welterweight title reign to me, and his ascension from that, coming back from another organization, coming back, knocking out Volkan, I think that was his name, with a head kick, nasty. And then just having battles with Carlos Condit, Rory McDonald, sadly losing his belt to Tyron Woodley really quick, but all the fights that he had, he was just so fun to watch. And then Nico Price, he's just he's such an awkward guy. It's my fear that he loses to Nico Price in an awkward manner that makes him regret retiring after this fight, because Nico doesn't just he's not going to knock you out in a way that's going to make you think he's better than you. He's going to catch you with something crazy. And then you're going to be like, fuck, But, those are things that he probably practices. And he's probably really good at them. So, the main card. This is what we've been looking forward to, waiting for. And, Alexander Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez. Brandon Moreno versus Alexandre Pantoja. Robert Whittaker versus Dricus du Plessis. Jalen Turner versus Dan Hooker. And Bo Nickel versus Val Woodburn. So, first, Bo Nickel was supposed to fight Tresean Gore. Still think that was a bad matchup for Tresean Gore. I think it was a bad matchup for Val Woodburn. I know a little bit about the list that went out for Bo Nickel, because if you watch the most recent UNC Embedded, they gave him a bunch of names, and he says, give me the names, just send me the names, and we'll look over them. They picked Val Woodburn for a reason. He's 7-0, so usually I go, oh wow, 7-0 guy, that's pretty impressive. Troy's is getting ready for a fight, July 24th for 170. But Troy's also fought 185 before. He's currently the 185 champion at A1 Combat for Uriah Faber. He was on that list. He's 6-1. So, but they picked this guy. Now, is it because and he's also fought a UFC fighter in Johan Lanice, so it's he's fought UFC caliber fighters. But I wonder why they picked this guy. A guy that wants to close the distance and wrestle. Anyway, that's all I can say. I think they did a really good job on figuring out who they want to replace as his opponent. So, oh wait, hold on. Sorry, you guys didn't even see that. But yeah, that's my whole thing about it is um whoever's doing his whoever's doing his management or picking opponents for Bo Nickel needs a raise. It was a good choice. You know, it was a good choice, especially like with the limited time they had. They went through all the footage of everyone that they got on that list, and they chose that guy. So congrats for the call. I think it was also the Dana White Contender Series or something like that. Jalen Turner versus Dan Hooker. I like this fight. I think Dan had potential to be like better. And maybe this is a fight for him to like pull himself out of whatever he's got going on in his head as far as fighting goes. Maybe it's too much he's got going on in his personal life and all this. I don't know. But when you watch him fight, like he'll look good, and then this is exactly like he'll look good. So he just fought, and he had that amazing performance against Claudio Pugliese. But before that, Arnold Allen ran through him because he's like, maybe if I just go down to featherweight after losing to Islam Makhachev, who's the champion right now. But it's like when you put him against these guys that are up and coming, he classes them. But it's just like the top 5 guys that he has a problem with. So it's like he's right there. He's always right there at lightweight. And so this is kind of one of those moments where is Jalen Turner a top 5 guy? Or is Dan Hooker going to put a masterclass on him? I personally think Jalen Turner has the mindset and does all the right moves to be that guy. But when I see the 13-6, is it just the mistakes he made when he was younger? Or is it like the lack of technique? Because that last fight, everyone thought he beat Mateusz Gamrot, but he's still 13-6. If I'm him, I'm happy. I'm getting confidence from beating Brad Riddell. In the UFC though, he's almost unbeaten besides the Vicente Luque, the Mateusz Gamrot. So 3 of those fights. So 3 of those losses. So when he came in, he had 3 losses. I'm going to chalk those up to like younger mistakes. And then each loss isn't as like devastating. It went from KO to, and that was against Vicente Luque. So that might have been welterweight. I'm going to be on the Jalen Turner hype train for this one. Right. Usually Dan Hooker outclasses guys coming up. But I think on this one, I think just the physical anomaly that Jalen Turner is for 155 is going to give Dan Hooker such a problem. All right, middleweight. Robert Whittaker versus Dricus du Plessis. Like I was saying about Dricus, I think his technique is overlooked because it's sloppy, but it's effective. However, I don't think it's going to work on a guy in Robert Whittaker who's technically better than him and faster in all those places. I think Dricus du Plessis gets caught with the 1-2 head kick like everyone always does with him, with Rob. And then we're going to see how good Dricus' chin is. If Dricus has a chin like Marvin Vettori, maybe it goes all 3 rounds, but I think Marvin Vettori is an anomaly. I mean, the Jared Cannonier fight, how does that even happen? And I think Rob doesn't wash him. I think it's a tough fight for Rob. But I think when Rob gets put through it, I think he finds that win. I think he just knows how to win. And I just think Rob and Israel are just so far ahead of the rest of the division in technique that I think Drickus is just along the lines of a Marvin Vettori, a Jared Cannon. Like, I think he's like top 5, probably, but he's not Rob and Izzy. And if Rob wins, I don't know what that means for him. I really do not know what that means for him. I guess Izzy 3, but I don't know, man. I just think technically Rob's better in all the right spots. Like where Drickus goes for takedowns, he tries to lat drop and do all that. Izzy does, or Rob does all that. He Greco-Romans all the time. He loves Greco-Roman wrestling. He's faster, and he's just faster. Brandon Moreno versus Alexandre Pantoja. I'm going to go with Alexandre Pantoja because he's beaten Brandon Moreno 2 times already. And the last time he beat him was a decision. And I'm pretty sure the first time may have been no, I think it was I think he's some rear naked choke. So he finished him and then he beat him in a unanimous decision the last time. To me, that to me is how I think he's going to win, is just through beating him through a decision like the last time. And to me, that means like, his game. Your game is just, it works. Styles make fights. But my issue with it is the age. Like, Alexandre is not old, but he's 33, and Brandon Moreno's coming into his prime. So maybe the changes he's made in his life and his camp, and maybe his physical fitness has gotten better where he can change this for his own legacy and get that win. But if Alexandre is just like too much for Brandon Moreno, then like power and just the way he like his control, like his bottom, like his jiu-jitsu and stuff. My problem is, like, who did he lose to? Askar. And Figueiredo. His path to victory for me is either going to be beating him up on the feet and getting that knockout, or catching him in a submission, which Brandon's gotten way better at both those things. Like, his boxing's way better and his wrestling's way better, but I don't know. If I'm going to go off of it, 2 wins already, one of them being a decision. To me, if you're beating someone by a decision, you're most likely going to continuously beat them until they make big wholesale changes. And I don't know if Brandon's done that. I mean, Brandon's made changes, but I don't know if they're the changes that are going to beat Alexandre. But we'll see. So I'm going Alexandre Pantoja. But Brandon Moreno's done some growing. And finally, you have Alexander Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez. A lot of people think, Viva Mexico, let's go. Yair's going to take it. I think Alexander Volkanovski beats the shit out of Yair Rodriguez. I think a lot of people are probably on his side for the favorite. Like, I think he's a big favorite. But I think Josh Emmett had success on the bottom, or from the top. And Frankie Edgar was like the staple of what happened. Like, he badly beat Yair from top position. Yair still hasn't made the wrestling changes. He accepts bottom control, and then he goes, oh, let me just get my jiu-jitsu better. It's like, my man, that's it. It was an answer for his last fight, but in Alexander Volkanovski, who trains with Craig Jones constantly, who we saw what happens when Brian Ortega tried to slap a triangle on him. And yeah, Yair technically submitted Brian Ortega through like this weird thing. Well, not submitted, but I think he just like hurt his shoulder, like beat him on the ground or something like that. but it was like a weird shoulder thing. But I think just Volk is he's a cannonball. It's going to be hard to submit him. And then once he gets on top control, he's shown he can damage you on the from the with ground and pound. And I think he's going to make Yair pay anytime he goes to the ground. And then striking, I don't think it's going to be just that easy to just get all those kicks off. You watched the Max fight, and Max's game plan was perfect. Yeah, he got clipped with a couple things, and Volk might get clipped with a couple things here and there. But look at Volk's camp. He's got Izzy, and he's been working with Izzy for striking. Whatever Yair can do, Izzy can do, but way harder. And is way more threatening. And it's not that he's going to take Yair lightly, and mentally, on the mental aspect, it kind of does seem like he's taking him lightly because he's talking about all he wants to do is get that Makhachev fight back. But if he wasn't arguably pound for pound number 1 or 2, I would be like, well, that's something to be concerned about. But he is that good. And I think, you're such a specialist that we see what we see in the Brian Ortega fight. We're going to see in this fight just at a different level. But this is my biggest X factor on Volk's side that I don't want to take away from either. Volk took Makhachev down. Volk went 5 rounds with Makhachev. He dropped Makhachev. I don't know if he took him down. But if he did, okay, he didn't take him down. Did they even give him a knockdown? He got a knockdown. Okay, so when he knocked him down, right? He stuffed his takedowns. He felt Makhachev. Bet he doesn't take Yair down with ease. My biggest X factor is that Alexander Volkanovski got the rub from Makhachev, and I stood with the guy for 5 rounds, did what no one else could, made the fight super competitive, stuffed 5 of his takedowns, knocked him down once. Bro, Yair Rodriquez, who? I'm going to ankle pick you. And I think that's what's going to happen. You're going to see Alexander Volkanovski just impose his will, showing why he's the great of the division. And if Yair can't catch him with something, and if it's all going to be up to Alexander Volkanovski. Is he 100% focused that night? And if he is, it's his to lose. That's it. It's not Yair. Like, Yair's literally can throw everything at the wall. Those techniques and stuff like that are going to get shut down by a guy who's a master of getting on the inside. And after getting on the inside, with his newfound confidence in his ability to go with the pound for pound best, he's going to take Yair down and just TKO him. And if that game plan goes to holds water, then he's going to make it look easy too. So those are my picks. I pick Alexander Volkanovski, Alexander Pantoja, Robert Whittaker, Jalen Turner, and Bo Nickel. Remember, check out Thunder Scrap Nation. We got a new website now. Look at this. Beautiful. Look at that. All the pictures, the trainings, the cool stuff about me. Look at that. Look at that. All right. Cool. Remember, SouthernScrapNation.com. I've been your host, Daniel Jonas. Go follow that stuff. Thank you all for listening. And until next time, stay safe. Peace.